Good morning. This is Mr. Bryan. I'm giving this lecture for Mr. Gowans. This is for the Math for College Readiness class today. And we're going to be talking about the zeros of polynomial functions. I don't know if you remember from algebra that to find the real zeros is a function is to find out where it crosses the x-intercepts. And, you know, it can be written as y equals f of x, or it can be written as f of x. And then once you find a solution, you just set that value equal to 0. I don't know if you remember that from algebra, but this is what we're going to be working on today. Now, throughout this video, I'm going to be stating secret items. Like, for example, the first secret item is the secret color, and the secret color is red for today. And to show me that you are actually listening to the video, you would have to know these answers to, because I'm gonna have a little quiz on these little secret items. Okay, so when we find zeros, you're gonna get an equation, something that looks like this. Okay, and when you do that, you got to solve for it and break it down into a situation where you have an equation that's broken down and completely factored out. And when you do that, it helps you find out where the zeros are. Fortunately for the Math for College Readiness class, your class starts here. You really don't have to do the factoring. I know we don't like doing the factoring, so luckily for Math for College Readiness, we start at this point, okay? And now the second item that I want to do is the secret pet. The secret pet is a fish. The secret pet is a fish. Okay, so now when you get to this point, get this equation, what you have to do is to find the zeros, you have to set each part of this equation equal to 0. Okay, so the first part is x, so I'm going to set that equal to 0. So that is that's the first zero for this equation. The second zero, I want to set x minus 3 equal to 0, and then solve. When I set x minus 3 equal to 0, I do all the algebra, and then here, that's our second zero. And then the third zero, we're going to set x plus 2 equal to 0, and then solve for x. And we'll find out that x becomes, x is equal to -2. So this equation up here at the top has 3 zeros. The first zero is at 0, the second zero is at 3, the third zero is at -2. And it would be written like this, okay? All right, here's another example. But before I go into the next example, I want to talk about the writing utensil. The writing utensil, the secret writing utensil is a pencil. The secret writing utensil is a pencil. Okay. Well, in this equation, so we got several parts here. We got 2 parts. You got 1 raised to the cubed power, 1 raised to the squared power. Okay, so what is the zeros of the function? We got to set each part equal to 0. So for this part to equal to 0, let me delete that. So the zeros of this function, we set that equal to 0. X minus 2 is equal to 0. Then therefore you add 2 to both sides, and x is equal to 2. On the second one, x plus 1 equal to 0. You subtract 1 from both sides, and then you got x is equal to -1. Okay? So now the key here is that's finding the zeros. But this exponent here, since that's in parentheses, those exponents are important here. They're called multiplicities. Okay? And so the 2 is a 0. Remember, we had this as 2 is a 0, has a multiplicity of 3 because it's raised to the 3 power. -1 is a 0, but it has a multiplicity of 2. It's because it's raised to the 2nd power. what the graph looks like. You're really not going to have to worry about this for math for college readiness. So, but if you were, you would know that it at x equals 2, the graph crosses the axis. At x equals -1, the graph just touches the axis. And what that means is if the exponent is odd, it crosses the axis. If the exponent is even, it just touches the axis. But you're not really responsible for that for math for college readiness. All right, so here's some example problems. These are problems that you're going to kind of have on your work today. And so the first part of each time, you got to take each part of this equation and set it equal to 0. Okay? So, and first of all, this is asking for all rational roots. So anything that is not rational, if it has an I in it, or if it has a square root in the answer, then it's not going to be considered as an answer for this section, because they only want rational roots. If they wanted the other stuff, then you will put the problems with the i's and problems with the square roots. Okay, so the secret phone is Samsung. The secret phone is Samsung 9. The secret phone is Samsung 9. Okay, so we set the first part equal to 0. That's pretty easy. That's rational. There's no i's, there's no square root signs. The second part, I gotta set it equal to 0. That's x minus 1. And then to solve for that, you add 1 to both sides, and you got x. The answer is x minus equal to 1. That is rational, so that works. There's no i's, there's no square roots. The next part of the equation is x plus 1. And so x plus 1 is equal to 0. You solve for the answer and you find out that x is equal to -1. Again, that one is rational. The last one, x squared minus 6 equal to 0. When we see squares in the x, then we may find something with that puts a question mark, because we may find a square root sign. If it becomes a square root sign or negative, then we're going to have issues, right? So in this case, we got x squared is equal to -6. To solve for x, we got to add 6 to both sides. X squared is equal to 6, and then to get rid of that x squared, we got to take the square root. And so this is a root, but however, it's not an even number. It's not rational. So then therefore, we can't use this one for our answer. And so then therefore, the only answers are 0, 1, and -1. And then so our answer is D. Okay, on the second one, we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to take each part of these and set them equal to 0, and now tell us which multiplicities they are. I mean, they're going to tell us which answers they are. Set x minus 1. The solution to that is x equal to 1. That is rational. It's good. X plus 1. Solve for x. We find out x is equal to -1. That's rational. That's good. Third one, x minus 3. Solve for x, and then you find out that x is equal to 3. That's rational. That's good. X plus 3 is equal to 0. You set that, find the solve for x. Again, you solve for x by bringing the 3 to the opposite side, and then it's -3, so then therefore that's rational. It's good. So when you look at all these answers, then we'll find out that C is the answer, because 1, -1, 3, and -3 are in C. Number 3. We look at x squared plus 2. Set that equal to 0. Solve for x. First step is to subtract 2 from both sides. So then x squared is equal to -2. Then take the square root of both sides. Then x is equal to I square root of 2. That is not rational. I mean, that's not rational. So then therefore, we're not going to use that. It is a root, but we're not going to use that for this part of for this exercise. The next one, x squared plus 9. X squared plus 9, you solve for x, and then you'll find out that x is equal to 3i. That's not rational. So the answer here would be C, none. Okay, the last one here for this exercise, x squared minus 5. Solve for x. You add 5 to both sides, then you take the square root. This is irrational, so then therefore we're not going to use this one. X minus 1, that's pretty easy. We can solve for x. X is equal to 1. X plus 1 is equal to 0. That's pretty easy. We can solve for x. X is equal to negative 1. The last one, x plus 1 is equal to 0. X squared plus 1 is equal to 0. Solve for x. And then that's an imaginary number. And so then therefore, we're not going to use that. We're going to use this one and that one. And so with that being the case, the answer is B. All right, hopefully this helps you answer or work the problems for your today.